This video covers installing the tuning capacitor and battery holder for the Elenco AM radio kit. Be sure to read the helpful companion document linked in the video description prior to soldering. In order to install the tuning capacitor, we will be looking at figures F and H. Now this is the tuning capacitor. It has three tabs coming out the side here. It's installed from the bottom. Now according to these instructions, these three tabs will solder to those three pads. That means we're going to have to bend them. So which way is the top? Based on what I'm seeing here, there's going to be screws on the underside, which means that this part is going to go through that hole, which makes sense because there's two other holes that correspond to those holes. So I expect we'll be putting screws in through the top to hold this mechanically on. So let's get this ready. Now, these three tabs here need to line up with that, which means that we need to bend them using these. So, get a good grip and bend them up like that so that it bends either at or just a little off this surface here. This is the surface that will be abutting up against the underside of the circuit board. And we want to make sure that we have no difficulty whatsoever matching those tabs to the pads on the underside of the board. Let's see how that worked. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. I don't have a problem with that. Now, we want to make this stationary. Bend the leads as shown, fasten C1, that's this, fasten C1 into place on the top side of the PC board with two screws, I guess. Those are going to be the screws that came with the component. Now, this has three screws in it. Oh, one rather long one and two shorter ones. I expect the long one goes in here, so the shorter ones are going to go in there. Now, you will want to use a Phillips head screwdriver you've had waiting at the sides. I'm just holding this in with my fingers on the back. I rotate it back and forth a little bit until I can see through the top that the holes match up. Nice and snug. The same with the other one. Whoops. These screws will tend to run off. So make sure you have a fairly clean workspace so that if and when you drop something like this, it won't be too difficult to find again. Snug those up. And now, nothing will interfere with our soldering here. That's good. Here we go. Now, you can tell looking at these sideways on, they are a little offset. They weren't completely flush with the capacitor once I soldered them on. That's because it looks like I didn't make the bend in the tabs with my needle nose pliers perfectly. I was still able to solder them on without a problem. It is something to look for before you solder. Well, after you attach this with the screws, but before you solder the tabs on, just to make sure that they line up enough that making a solder junction will not be a problem. All right, now we have fasten the knob. All right, so now we have, here's our knob. going to attach that to the top here using this screw. This doesn't go on just anyway. This is a little bit rectangular. There's a corresponding rectangular hole here. Rotate it until they match up pretty nicely. There we go. Beautiful. All right, this turns nicely. And even though there's a screw there, turning this will not cause that screw to loosen because of the rectangular protrusion and intrusion in the knob. That's what's actually taking the turning motion. The screw is just fixing them together. All right, figure H. Turn the dial fully clockwise. Remove the protective backing from the label. Align the 1600, that is right here, with the arrow on the PC board. There. So this is fully clockwise. Beautiful. Now, we're going to want to save this for the future. That's beautiful. Install battery holder and antenna. Here's our battery holder. And this, I think, go on the back, full side of PC board. Bend the leads to the battery holder as shown in figure I. So here are the leads. Looks like they go out, so I'm bending them out. These are pretty stiff. Don't just jab your finger onto them. You could get a nice little puncture if you did. All right, so these are now out. I bet that's where it goes. Yep, those dots are where the correspond to those dots here. So this must be where the battery goes, and I really don't see anywhere else where it could go. Now there is a screw and a nut. That must be these. So here, I'm going to take the screw, stick it in through the top, holding it in place with my finger, dropping the battery holder onto the screw. This is a little bit tricky because I have the wire from the speaker there. Okay, so here I am. I switched fingers holding it down so I could pick up the screw, but the screw is still being held by my fingers. Putting the nut on it. This is not the simplest thing in the world. All right, oh, it's flathead. So I'm going to hold this here. There we go. Well, this wire here does present a little bit of an awkwardness, but nothing that we can't solder around. Just try and avoid melting the insulation around the wire. Alright, so in order to do this, I'm going to bring the iron in from the top like this. Beautiful. And now rotating it, iron in through the bottom. That looks nice. Watch this video to continue assembling your kit. If you have any questions about the material discussed in this video, please use the comments section below and we will get back to you as soon as possible. See you in the next clip.